So start from the who I
Yeah,
am, the
just
introduction.
introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Okay. My name is Kristi Lynn. I'm from Seattle. I'm 52. Been married for 21 years. I have three children: Stephen, David, and Emily. One's a freshman in college, a junior in high school, and Emily is a freshman in high school. And I am an elementary school teacher, a marathon runner, triathlete, a tennis player, golfer, water ski. Love to travel the world. But my foundation in all of this, the SCAD experience, has been my faith and my family and friends who got me through it.
Great, thanks. So can you go ahead and describe just in your own words, what's your connection to SCAD?
Okay. What happened? I am a year anniversary, October 4th, and really quite an emotional celebration. I'm very grateful. This year has been like no other, and looking at the world, even during this crazy time, and the good of it all, just thankful to be alive. But what happened is I woke up Friday morning. I usually get up early and get my kids Starbucks breakfast, and I went there, came home, did emails to get ready before the day started, and felt this excruciating burning sensation in my chest. I had no other previous symptoms, just sitting there, and all of a sudden, this burn. Uh, my first thought was, and I have to preface it, I was in Peru for a month, had a kidney stone. Didn't pass after 10 days, flew home, but I was in so much pain that I couldn't get up on the plane. So I was sedentary for 28 hours. And sometimes when that happens, you can get a DVT, clot in your, as thrombosis in your calf. So I had been on blood thinners since I had a clot in my calf from that flight. And so I thought it was a pulmonary embolism that was going to my heart, a clot. But I waited enough time where I thought I was okay, and the pain started to dissipate. And I laid down the floor with my dog. But I called my husband, who is a physician. He was in Pennsylvania for a medical conference, and I said, I have this pain. I'm sure it's just the clot that went to my lungs. I think I'm going to be okay. He's like, get to the ER. So I'm like, told my kids, woke them up, said, I'm going to go to the ER. The pain was still evident, but not as bad. So I drove myself to the ER, went into the ER, and I said to the gal at the desk, I said, I'm having a pulmonary embolism, probably. I think I'm going to be okay, but maybe I should get checked. She's like, definitely. So I went back into the ER. They did EKG. That was fine. They said, hey, just wait. We'd still like to check you out. And went in and they did the blood test, the troponin, and the numbers were extremely high. They said, hey, I think you're having a heart attack. I said, no, I'm not having a heart attack. It can't be a heart attack. I just ran a race the previous week. I'm feeling great. It's just extreme pain in my chest. And I think it's this clot that I had from the plane. And they said, so I called my husband, who's back in Pennsylvania. And I also called my brother, who's a physician who lives in Denver. And I said, this cannot be happening. They said, have them give you another blood test. They gave me another tropamine, uh, and the numbers were higher. They thought I was having a heart attack. So they gave me an echo. They saw something that said you need to angiogram right away. So I am just overwhelmed with this is cannot be happening. Um, and I'm I'm by myself in the ER talking to my husband on the phone, and he's saying it's okay, angiogram will be great. So I went in and they did the catheter, they saw blockage, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, there's blockage in my heart. And they said, we're going to put a stent in. So another doctor came in and started to put the stent in, and uh, immediate reaction when he got to that blockage, and he said, get it out of there now. And he pulled the stent out, he didn't push it through. And then the doctor went in the back room, and I see them all talking, and I'm with the nurses. I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, we don't know, let the doctors talk about it. So I'm still have this a thing in my arm, and a little bit panicked. And all of a sudden for me, my faith is everything. So I've been praying the whole time, and I'm just like, oh God, please just help me get through this. don't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, my neighbor, and he's a cardiologist, and I play tennis with his wife, walks in the room. He's like, Kristi, Lynn, what are you doing here? I heard you had a 52-year-old here, and I can't believe you're going through this. And he came over, makes me emotional, held my hand. And that's the first time I heard about SCAD. He's like, the doctors are in the room. They're trying to figure out what to do. We think you have a SCAD. About 6 months ago, we had a case like this. We don't know. We haven't seen many of them, but we're going to take care of you. And we've been researching this. And so he walked me through it. He stayed with me for the 6 hours I was in the ER, and walked me through it. And he's my angel for sure. So they transferred me to another hospital that had a bypass machine just in case, and diagnosed it as a SCAD. I was very impressed. My doctor, Dr. Kearney, they had enough information. And thank you. I just want to say I'm so inspired by the previous speakers. Laura, unbelievable. I immediately, of course, went on social media and found the SCAD site about what SCAD is and all the people involved, met connections. Um, my neighbor 3 miles away happened to be on the site. I connected with her. We've had coffee. Uh, but to get to the point, I get, to go back to my story, I'm sorry, but I was in the ICU for 6 days. After the first couple of days, I had chest pains, felt better. They sent me home on beta blockers. I just was ready to get back to life. I just couldn't believe I had a heart issue, because I've been taking care of myself for my whole life. I run. I couldn't imagine what it was. So
Well, if I can ask,
yeah,
um, so the your friend who was the physician
yeah.
who said he thought it was SCAD, how was he in the hospital?
How was he?
I mean, how did he happen to come to you? He
Oh,
wasn't one of the attending doctors, right?
no, he happened to be in a hospital checking on a patient that day. And a call, I'm assuming, went out to the cardiologist. We have a young woman getting an angiogram, and she has a blockage, but we don't think it's not a normal blockage. They think I think he diagnosed it pretty quickly
Oh,
that it was a scab, because they had seen it from what I expected about 6 months ago from a gal who happened to be the one that lived down the street from me.
right. Well, we've interviewed a lot of folks who are SCAD survivors, and one of the things, about half of them had something where somebody happened to be in the hospital that they knew, and it seemed to make all the difference in the world. It's
Oh,
very, I mean, it's sad state where that's like half of the survivors have a story like that. Um, but if I can ask you, since then, um, the uh, emotional kind of toil this has taken on you, are you comfortable describing that?
oh, definitely. Something I thought about every day for the last year. And I think when it comes down to it, first, uh, when you're put in a position where you're told you better call your kids and your husband, we don't know what's going to happen. You look at life differently. And not that I wasn't positive before and looking at things more vividly, but I do. Every day is a gift. And not a day goes by where I don't recognize the second chance that I've been given. So
Hmm.
emotional toll. My family, my friends have been everything to me
Hmm.
and getting me through this. But I also say cardiac rehab, cardiac rehab, cardiac rehab. If any of my cardiac rehab people are listening to me, I love you, not just for the physical, getting me back in shape, but for the mental. Um, like some of the previous speakers had said, that someone to talk to that's sort of not family, not friends, but knows medically that um, what you're going through is key.
Okay. And any challenges that you've had after that, physical or otherwise?
I think it was Patty that said sort of the PTSD. Mine happened in the morning. I get up a little more slowly, more intentionally. Uh, but I'm back to running. I'm back to racing. I'm not as fast as I used to, but for my mental state, uh, I think just keeping great doctors around you and knowing what you're going through, being knowledgeable. The SCAD research Facebook page, as Laura put, I mean, it's fantastic. Sometimes I just don't go on it because I don't feel like being in that moment. I just need to breathe a little bit. But everything you need to know, the people there are the best ones to talk to. So,
Okay, right. And what would you, what would you say to other people to try to get the kind of good outcome that you got? Is we've all heard the stories of folks who uh, were not with people who were familiar with the condition.
right, right. Well, I think I was very fortunate to be surrounded by incredible physicians and my family. But the SCAD page, I do think uh, getting on and connecting with people who have the same experience. And I think most of these women who have spoken today, we have many of the same experiences, uh, is it gives you a sense of peace and that other people have gone through it. And you have that fellowship and community uh,
Mm,
is, and I think the research, I mean, going out and running today and making it more known, we can make a difference. We can, I just fully believe that we can make a difference in the fight for SCAD and to find what causes it. I think a lot of research that's, I mean, I could talk a long time about the research, but
mm,
yes, get involved if you
okay.
can.
Oh, and I'd like you got the shirt. We got the nice 2020 shirt on. That's
Yes,
fantastic. Great.
yes.
Now, what is there anything I just forgot to ask you? Anything else you'd like to say?
Oh gosh, I can, I could talk a lot about this experience. But most of all, I just am so grateful for the researchers and the doctors who are focusing on something that is such a surprise to so many women that we're going through
Hmm.
after we tried to take such good care of ourselves.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. You take care. Okay, bye
Yeah,
bye.
you too.